I'm a 30-year-old man, and my story begins with a reckless driver, a rain-slicked road, and the sound of my spine breaking against a seatbelt. 3 weeks before the holidays, I was driving home from work. Rain poured relentlessly, turning every street into a reflective maze. 10 minutes from my house, a truck barreled through a red light, slamming into my car's driver's side. I didn't see it coming. All I recall is metal crumpling, airbags exploding, and darkness swallowing me whole. 3 days later, I woke in the ICU, a tube down my throat, a brace around my neck, and pain radiating everywhere. Doctors listed my injuries: a fractured spine, a shattered thigh bone, 3 cracked ribs, and internal bleeding that nearly ended me. My body was mangled, and they weren't certain I'd walk again. The nurse told me I'd need at least 8 months of rehabilitation, maybe longer. That was grim enough, but the silence was what shattered me. When I opened my eyes, no one was there. No flowers, no messages, no family crowding my door, just beeping machines and distant nurse chatter. I asked if anyone had visited. "Not yet," the nurse said. My father and older sister didn't show until day 3. They stood stiffly by the window, avoiding my gaze. My mother brought a bag of apples like it was a casual Sunday drop-in. My dad quipped about me finally taking a break from overworking. My sister scrolled her phone the whole time. They stayed for 15 minutes and left. I didn't hear from them again. My girlfriend, now ex, visited once. She stood by my bed, eyes wide with panic, barely able to look at me. 2 days later, she texted, "I can't handle this. I'm sorry, this isn't the future I wanted. 4 years together, gone in a sentence." Bills started piling up while I was still bedridden. My job switched me to temporary disability, slashing my income. My car was totaled. I was still paying rent for an apartment I couldn't reach. My savings vanished in 2 weeks. Ambulance fees, emergency surgery, and hospital stays ate it all. I called my dad, begging for a few $100 for groceries and part of January's rent. He sighed and said, "You've always stood alone, figure it out." He hung up. My sister didn't answer. By mid-January, I got an eviction notice. I couldn't work, could barely move, and couldn't pay. My landlord gave me until month's end to leave. Desperate, I called my family again, asking if I could crash in their guest room. My mom said it wasn't a good time. My sister had a cold, and they didn't want hospital germs. She didn't ask where I was staying or if I could walk. I slept in a rental car for 5 nights, parked behind my old gym, engine off to save gas, reclined in the seat, wrapped in hospital blankets. My leg brace made comfort impossible. I barely slept, ate little scrounged coins for fast food fries, and dragged myself to public restrooms using my arms, unable to bear weight on my leg without crutches I couldn't easily carry. A coworker I barely knew spotted me in the office lot one night. He and his wife took me in, gave me their pull-out couch, cooked meals, and drove me to doctor's appointments. Strangers cared more than my own flesh and blood. Days later, I saw Christmas photos online, my family beaming around a table with candles, wine, and matching pajamas. I wasn't just overlooked, I was deliberately excluded. On New Year's, my sister called, saying they didn't help because they didn't want to enable me, and I needed to learn to ask for help properly. I asked if they cared that I couldn't walk unaided, couldn't shower properly, couldn't afford medical copays. She called me dramatic. I left voicemails sobbing, saying I was scared and didn't know what to do. I got one reply, a text from my dad, "Pull yourself together, man." When I tried again, calling my mom from the borrowed couch, she told me to stop guilt-tripping everyone and blocked my number. Something in me broke. The next 2 weeks were a blur of panic attacks and numbness. I lay staring at the ceiling, too drained to cry. If I'd had access to anything worse than crutches, I might not be here. Then my old college professor emailed. He'd heard about the crash through a friend and offered me a room above his garage. It wasn't much, but I could stay until I got back on my feet. I accepted instantly. He picked me up the next day, helping me carry my duffel bag and brace, my only possessions. That night, staring at my bruised reflection, I made a vow. I'd never ask for help again, and they'd never get another chance to abandon me. Physical therapy was in a nondescript building between a laundromat and a dentist. Twice a week, I stretched, balanced, and walked with parallel bars. My left leg trembled like it was paper the first time I stood alone. By week 2, I crossed the room on crutches. Pain blurred my vision, but I never missed a session. Back in the garage room, I treated my laptop like a lifeline. I learned new skills, updated portfolios, and picked up freelance gigs. Graphic design, copywriting, branding for small businesses. No kitchen meant heating canned soup while working through dinner. Some nights I worked until 3 a.m., chasing payments or refining drafts. Money trickled in slowly at first. Within 3 months, I covered therapy, prescriptions, and my phone bill. It felt like surfacing after a long dive. 2 college friends reached out. One sent an Uber Eats gift card and asked for my Venmo. Another mailed snacks, socks, and a handwritten note. They hadn't spoken to me in years, but stepped up without judgment. The professor checked in nightly, bringing tea or takeout, asking about my leg, offering quiet advice. A local therapist worked with me on a sliding scale, teaching me to build invoices, negotiate rates, and say no unapologetically. He said to treat my recovery like a business plan, track wins, analyze losses, and never let those who abandon me back in. Each week, I left his citrus and old book-scented office a little stronger, less angry. I opened up about my family's view of independence as defiance and emotions as weakness. He listened without fixing me. From January to May, my phone stayed silent. No texts, calls, or emails from my parents or sister. No one asked about my recovery or if I could walk. I blocked their numbers and moved on. By month 5, I ditched the cane for an uneven but unassisted stride. I walked from the garage to the mailbox without stopping. That week, I signed a lease on a tiny studio with peeling paint and one working AC unit. It was mine, paid for with my own money. Soon after, I landed a 6-month contract with a firm for a rebrand, steady income with growth potential. I bought a proper workstation, stocked my fridge with real food, and set up auto pay for bills. No more begging. After clearing one hospital debt, the professor drove me to the courthouse, snapping a photo of me on the steps with my crutches. He framed it, saying it proved I could rise from anything. Then my aunt texted, "Your dad says you're doing better. Good for you. No outreach, just a pat." I left it unread. By summer, I was unrecognizable from the man who slept in a car. Clean-shaven, hair trimmed, I started strength training with a trainer my therapist recommended. I wore fitted clothes, spoke confidently, stood taller. Strangers at coffee shops assumed I had prospects and I didn't correct them. Then my sister texted, "Heard you're doing okay? Knew you'd pull through." No apology, no accountability for ignoring my pleas, leaving me homeless, or blocking me. Just a smug nod from those who let me sink. I replied, "Don't act like you believed in me. You left me for dead." I blocked her again, permanently. A voicemail from an unknown number followed, my dad's voice bypassing the block. A wedding invitation arrived in a fancy envelope with gold foil and a wax seal. No personal note, just my name and address. At therapy, I laid it on the table. My therapist asked, "What do they want from you now?" I had no answer. My mom messaged, "It'd mean a lot to your sister if you came." I didn't reply. My dad called, leaving a voicemail. He didn't ask about my recovery, just said I should be grateful they didn't coddle me, claiming my success proved they were right to stay out of it. I didn't respond. My sister texted again, "You're holding a grudge during the happiest time of my life." No mention of the hospital, the car, the hunger, just her big day. I mailed a formal reply. "You lost the right to call me family when you left me alone in a hospital bed." My aunt called, saying the family group chat called me selfish and dramatic, ruining their joy. I asked if she remembered what happened to me. She paused, then said, "That was ages ago." I hung up. A cousin messaged privately, shocked by the family's narrative. I thanked him but didn't engage further. I just wanted them gone. My dad left another voicemail, accusing me of playing the victim and embarrassing myself. I blocked him and my sister for good. The wedding happened without me. A distant coworker mentioned it in passing. No one sent photos or asked why I didn't come. They spun a tale of me cutting them off for no reason, and I let them. The silence felt like peace, not punishment. I kept up therapy, worked on a tech startup contract, saved money, and trained with my group. I joined a freelancers meetup, got invited to a friend's housewarming, and planned a short vacation, my first in 2 years. In my apartment's mirror, clean-cut and standing tall, I saw I wasn't just surviving, I was building. They had a front row seat to my lowest point and walked away. Now I'd thrive, and they'd watch from afar. A Wednesday morning email offered me a full-time remote job at the startup. Benefits, stock options, paid vacation, and a salary triple my pre-accident income. I accepted within an hour. To celebrate, I booked a solo trip to a national park 2 states away. I packed light, drove with music blaring, hiked until sunset, and slept in a rented cabin under the stars. It felt earned. Back home, I joined a men's recovery group, former athletes, veterans, and others like me rebuilding after trauma. My phone stayed silent. My family didn't reach out. A letter arrived, likely from an old billing record, stating my parents were updating their estate plans, likely cutting me out. I had my lawyer send a formal statement relinquishing all claims to their assets. No drama, just closure. I enrolled in an online MBA using my company's education program, balancing coursework with work and workouts. I saved for a one-bedroom cottage outside the city, surrounded by trees with a wraparound porch. I put in an offer the same day I saw it, and it was mine, every penny from my own pocket. On moving day, I stood in the empty living room, windows open, knowing I'd crossed a line they'd never reach. A cousin visited, catching up briefly before mentioning my dad's claim I'd gone off the rails. I told him the truth. They abandoned me when I needed them most. He nodded, said, "That sounds like them," and we parted without plans to reconnect. A message from an unknown number, my dad's voice, said, "I hope you enjoy your solitude." You chose it. I had the number blocked and erased every trace of their contacts. I wrote a letter to myself, detailing everything from waking alone in the ICU to the estate letter. I sealed it in a fireproof lockbox labeled "The past stays here." My sister's fiancé called, saying she wanted to talk. I deleted the voicemail. A letter followed, 4 pages of her justifying everything, claiming I was making things harder than needed. She'd gotten my address by tricking my old landlord, posing as a hospital billing agent. I changed my number, installed a security system, cameras, smart locks, no weak points. Her fiancé emailed saying she was pregnant and wanted to reconcile for the baby's sake. I didn't reply. A pregnancy doesn't erase betrayal. At therapy, my therapist said, "They want your forgiveness for their peace, not because they're sorry." A box arrived with a baby onesie and a card. "Your nephew deserves to know his uncle." I tossed it in the trash unopened and wrote in my journal, "Children deserve love, and you ensured I never would." My mom's second husband messaged, saying they were in pain. I replied, "Good," and blocked him. I joined a mentorship program, sharing my story with young men rebuilding their lives. At an industry dinner, a coworker's father asked if I was related to my dad, who'd been saying I'd lost my way. I stayed calm. Later, the coworker told his dad the truth: hospital, silence, betrayal. His dad admitted, "I've never been more embarrassed." My sister sent another letter accusing me of choosing hate. I burned it in my fire pit. Ashes, no ceremony. A promotion to head of design came with a 6-figure salary and leadership track. I rebuilt my cottage's kitchen and deck myself, paid in full. On my 33rd birthday, I grilled steak on the deck, sipped whiskey, and read under the stars. A law office letter said my dad had a stroke and was critical, asking if I'd be his emergency contact. I had my lawyer respond. He lost that right when he ignored my ICU stay. My sister emailed saying he might not make it and I'd regret not visiting. I didn't reply. I remembered the hospital, broken ribs, shattered leg, no one calling. A mutual acquaintance mentioned my sister fundraising for dad's medical bills. She emailed, asking for help, knowing I was doing well. I had my lawyer send a no-contact letter to my entire family. Any further contact would be harassment. While sorting files, I found an old family photo. I tossed it in the trash without a second glance. That night I wrote, "You left me to die and now you beg because you're dying." At a backyard gathering with friends, we toasted resilience. A friend texted that my sister had a healthy baby boy. I set the phone down, feeling nothing but the wind on my deck. A legal packet arrived, requesting I take medical power of attorney for my dad, now incapable of decisions. I shredded it. Another letter from my sister pleaded for help, claiming it wasn't about the past. No apology, no acknowledgement of my pain. My lawyer confirmed I had no obligation unless I signed. I didn't. A nurse from my trauma group mentioned my dad was incoherent, asking for his son. I didn't go. He chose silence when I was broken. I chose it now. I finished my MBA semester with straight A's and signed a deal to lead a creative agency's design division while keeping my tech role. A cousin visited unannounced. I watched him leave from my window, upgrading my security afterward. The hospital sent a letter confirming my dad's death. I filed it in my lockbox, no grief, just finality. The estate executor confirmed I was excluded from everything. I told them to say, "Perfect." I wouldn't have taken a cent. My sister's final letter was venomous. "You'll die alone, bitter, forgotten." I tossed it in the trash. Months later, a courier delivered a package from my sister, a note and photo for her son to be opened in 18 years. I returned it unopened. My number, my home, my life, no longer theirs. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, Please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.